Hi, my name is Robyn Accetta, and I am a third-year MFA acting candidate in the Department of Theater and Film Studies, and today I would like to share with you my embodied research on my thesis role of Winnie in Samuel Beckett's existentially absurd Happy Days, particularly as it applies to the physicalization of the character and the spatial semiotics of the world of the play while performing and filming the piece in COVID lockdown. I will be covering three main areas in this discussion. One, the physical challenges of the role. Two, the challenges of working with digital media and green screen technology. And three, the conclusions I arrived at through my embodied research. Firstly, what is embodied research? Well, for actors, our body is our research tool. So embodied research explores what the body can do and what conclusions and knowledge we can arrive at through our bodies experiencing the shift from theory to actual practice. Now, because of COVID, I had to rehearse and perform and film my thesis role entirely from my tiny home office, working with my director and my production team over Zoom with green screens wrapped around me and my immediate surroundings. Now, with no set or audience and only my body and my imagination for help, I decided to explore how physical training would enhance my focus, performance, and embodiment of this character. Winnie is one of the great roles for actresses. I mean, she is such a particular challenge because she spends the entirety of the play trapped in a mound of earth, first up to her waist, then up to her neck. So my biggest question as a performer was, how do I remain engaging to a virtual audience with such restricted movement in a 75-minute static shot? Now, one day I ran across a TED Woman talk by a neuroscientist, Dr. Wendy Suzuki. Now, Wendy focuses her research on brain elasticity and the effects of aerobic exercise on learning and memory. I was fascinated. So I began training for a 5K. And I would use my training runs to practice my lines every day. Surprisingly, the sense memory of running while saying my lines ended up bringing an energy and an urgency to my rehearsals that turns out was necessary to carry the play along because performing Beckett takes stamina. Continuing with my research on physical embodiment, I looked to silent film actor Buster Keaton, whom I love, and turns out so did Samuel Beckett. So I then attempted to layer in this type of clowning work into my Beckett world. Looking to Asian theater practices, I discovered that the detailed eye exercises of the traditional Indian Kudiyattam actors was a highly effective tool in helping to give my expressions fullness and range, particularly in Act 2 when I had nothing but my eyes to use for gesture. In addition, I need to address the added challenge of working with green screen. Now, I knew vaguely what the final visual overlay was going to look like, but I had no set around me to tactily give me the world. So, using ideas based on Rudolf Laban's efforts of action drives, I created the physical world for myself. I imagined that if I was actually trapped in the ground, I would feel weighted and restricted. So, thinking of Laban's action drives of pressing and ringing, I literally weighted myself down and ratchet strapped myself to the table that was set up in front of me. But also wanting to provide dynamic contrast, I thought about Laban's drives of flicking and floating for Winnie's hands and arms. And in Act 2, when nothing of my body was left to work with, I tried to bring those same qualities to my eyes and even my breath. Each of these embodiments brought me closer to inhabiting the existential void of Beckett's world. I learned that, to me, Winnie is an energetic and lively woman that would be running down the street herself, were she not trapped and dying in her own circumstances. And I learned that I carry a part of her and of all the roles that I've ever played in my body to bring to the next role that I tackle. Our bodies learn, our bodies adapt, our bodies hold knowledge. While embodying Winnie and her world, I arrived at these conclusions while successfully marrying physical training, acting methodologies, and science.